Before the towers, before the smoke, history already carried the blueprint of organized violence. Names change, faces disappear into archives, but the architecture of power built on weapons repeats itself across generations. Figures like Lucky Luciano remind us that systems of force do not emerge from nowhere. They grow where fear becomes currency and violence becomes negotiation. This is not mythology. It is a pattern etched into modern history. And when weapons define dialogue, humanity becomes secondary.
You've arrived!
Standing at the edge of remembrance, we confront a simple warning carved from catastrophe itself.
Sons of the bitch!
No weapons. Because every weapon carries an echo that travels further than its target,
Hold your machine gun,
reshaping cities, minds, and futures.
Okay. Whoa! React! Guns up, West Coast! Okay, Lucianuzo, it is on!
It's alright.
I'm Lucianuzo the best! Fuck Sunfish!
The sky participates in the emergence. Technology becomes an extension of human response, attempting to contain what exceeds ordinary limits. Effort itself becomes meaning, a refusal to surrender to the scale of catastrophe. The descent into ground zero feels like entering suspended time. Sound is muted by dusk, movement slowed by disbelief. Here, geography becomes emotion. The space is measured not in meters, but in absence. Each grain of ash settles like a quiet testimony to the fragility of human design. The city, stripped of its vertical certainty, reveals an exposed foundation, not only of steel and concrete, but of collective vulnerability.
Crazy build fever i geizariaai. De ganshani went suit in the air for a side staven in HVU sail. In Woodard.
Monsters are rarely born with claws and fangs. More often, they are constructed, shaped by fear, ideology, and the machinery of weapons. A weapon is never only metal. It carries intention, narrative, and consequence. In the wrong hands, it magnifies the darkest impulses of the human mind. Societies invent monsters to explain terror, yet sometimes the true horror lies in the systems that manufacture violence and normalize its presence. When weapons become symbols of power, imagination itself is colonized by threat. Children inherit images of conflict before they understand the language of peace. In this landscape, the line between monster and maker begins to blur, and the question remains suspended in the air. Do we fear the creatures we imagine, or the tools we continue to build?
Who compra? You want to buy? Dick, what you think? Ask Osama the price!
I don't come here.
Go and bring the I-plane.
Then you know how history evolves.
The surrounding buildings carry scars like reluctant archivists. Dust and fragments mark their surfaces, extending the radius of trauma. Violence radiates outward, touching everything within reach. The city becomes a map of impact, each stain coordinated These walls remember what words struggle to contain. They transform urban space into a living document of the event. Among debris lie traces that refuse abstraction. These are not symbols. They are fragments of human stories. Each remnant interrupts the distance that statistics try to create. It brings catastrophe back to the intimate scale of individual lives. In these silent witnesses resides the unbearable clarity that history is written on human bodies. Memory becomes a responsibility, to see, to acknowledge, to refuse indifference. Trauma alters perception. There are moments when emotion retreats, leaving behind a landscape that feels emptied of pulse. This numbness is not absence but protection, the mind negotiating the scale of what it has witnessed. Beneath the surface, calm currents of grief continue to move. The heart pauses to endure, gathering strength to feel again. Sirens carve paths through confusion. First responders advance into environments defined by uncertainty. Their movement redraws the boundaries of courage. It is not the absence of fear, but the decision to proceed despite it. Each action asserts a commitment to life in a landscape oriented toward destruction. Inside heat and debris, rescue becomes collaboration between individuals and instinct. Every gesture carries urgency. Every second expands under pressure. In these concentrated moments, solidarity materializes as a tangible force, counterbalancing chaos with intention. From a distance, perspective widens, and the scale of transformation emerges. What once defined the skyline now defines a void. And within that void, echoes accumulate. Unfinished sentences, interrupted gestures, mournings that never reached noon. The ruins speak a language beyond architecture. They narrate the sudden collision between routine and catastrophe, reminding us that permanence is often an illusion. Against overwhelming darkness, small flames assemble. Candles do not erase grief, but they give it form. In their trembling light, strangers recognize one another as participants in shared mourning. Silence becomes communal. The act of standing together constructs a fragile sanctuary where sorrow can breathe. These lights affirm that remembrance itself is a form of resistance against forgetting. From devastation emerges a quiet insistence on continuation. Survival is not triumph, but persistence. Memory accompanies the future as both burden and guide. The city carries its losses as an ethical horizon, a reminder of what must be protected. And above all, a final clarity remains. Violence multiplies absence. The lesson carved into the landscape speaks with austere simplicity. No weapons. Only the demanding work of rebuilding trust and restoring dignity and sustaining a shared humanity.
Hit him hard! Don't let up! They're falling back! Keep moving!
Edna! Edna! Fly away! That tower is going to collapse!
Is everyone accounted for? We're still missing Johnson! We have to pull back. The heat is too intense.